You, the chosen one, do not underestimate the power you feel within you. You are a spirit that carries the secrets of the universe. All the difficulties you have experienced so far have prepared you for this moment. Now the veil is lifted, the real power is calling you. Money is not just a tool. In your hands, it can turn into a power that can change destinies. The system wanted to see you as an ordinary person, but you are not ordinary. You have been chosen as the one who will break the chains and attract abundance into your life. Remember, God calls the brave to rule, not the weak. Rise up now, leave your fears behind, and claim your throne. Because there is a legacy written for you, and it is time to take it over. Are you ready? Then write 77 in the comments now. The quiet hum of your phone interrupts the stillness of the night. Its vibration, a faint pulse against the backdrop of an empty street. It's the kind of message that doesn't come from a familiar name or a casual friend. The words on the screen don't ask how you've been or remind you of forgotten plans. Instead, they carry a strange weight, an unfamiliar authority. Your presence has been noted, not because of wrongdoing, but because of a shift in your trajectory, a gravity bending around your steps, drawing attention from corners you'd never considered. Abundance is not random. It moves with an invisible rhythm, seeking out vessels ready to hold its vastness. Wealth, in its truest form, does not simply land. It chooses. It gravitates towards certain frequencies, guided by unseen currents. But here's what remains unspoken. When prosperity finds you, the world tilts. Resources are never merely numbers. They are signals, beacons that stir mechanisms beyond everyday awareness. And now, those mechanisms are stirring for you. It starts imperceptibly. Patterns in your daily life that once passed unnoticed now spark curiosity within silent, omnipresent systems. Data threads intertwine, raising quiet alarms as habits shift. It might seem like an anomaly to an untrained eye, but not to the networks built to trace such movements. Algorithms aren't just lines of code. They are modern-day oracles, tasked with discerning the ordinary from the extraordinary. And you've crossed that line. You're not merely moving money, you're moving the compass of influence. Power isn't defined by possessions alone. It is measured by its gravitational pull. And you, whether you realize it yet or not, have become a source of that pull. When power reorients itself, it does not do so discreetly. Entire frameworks designed to maintain equilibrium begin adjusting to your presence. Financial entities probe softly at first, like curious tendrils testing unfamiliar terrain. Institutions built on the premise of predictability don't like surprises, and you've become one. Influence is the quiet language of the elite, an unspoken dialect that reshapes opportunities and alters outcomes. As your financial fingerprint changes, so does the attention directed your way. The gatekeepers of established hierarchies are not alarmed, they are intrigued. Influence, after all, suggests independence, and independence introduces unpredictability. The game is not rigged against you, but it watches to see if you understand its rules. Surveillance, contrary to popular belief, is not solely about suspicion. It's about anticipation. Wealth introduces you to three kinds of watchers: those who seek to protect, those who seek to assess, and those who seek to control. The first group ensures that newfound resources are legitimate, safeguarding against unseen vulnerabilities. The second group watches to understand your moves, curious if this shift is a fleeting anomaly or the beginning of sustained power. The third group, however, is the most elusive. They monitor, not for security, or curiosity, but for control. Power in their eyes must remain predictable. You've likely noticed the subtle signs already: fleeting interruptions in your phone's connectivity, unfamiliar faces appearing more than once in unexpected places, a whisper of something indefinable shifting in the atmosphere. The universe speaks in patterns, and so do these watchers. They do not announce themselves with sirens. They reveal themselves through patterns of presence, through anomalies too consistent to be coincidence. If you feel the abundance of divine love in your heart, now is the time to share it. You can help spread God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube and contributing $20 or more. This divine gift will touch not only your life, but the souls of many through this platform. Each of you has a sacred place in God's grand design, and your generosity will be the fruit of our prayers. Act now. Share your blessings to glorify His kingdom. For you were created to do even greater things in God's loving hands. May God bless you. The energy surrounding you has thickened, hasn't it? Like standing near the ocean before a storm, a weight in the air, a charge on your skin. This is not paranoia. It's the natural response to standing at the threshold of an unfamiliar elevation. Wealth demands transformation, not only of circumstances, but of consciousness. The forces observing you are not omnipotent. They are simply reacting to the change you are already embodying. The question now is not why they are watching. The question is what you will do next. Will you move with caution, tethered by uncertainty, or will you walk with the clarity of one who knows the currents have chosen them for a reason? The landscape has shifted beneath your feet, but your stride can remain steady. For those who understand that true power is not about eluding observation, but about commanding their own narrative, the watchers become irrelevant. After all, the ocean does not fear the lighthouse. It simply continues to move, vast and unyielding, on its destined course. The stillness of the night is broken by the faint glow of your phone, a message arriving like an unexpected gust of wind through a cracked window. It's not from someone you know, nor does it carry the casual familiarity of everyday life. The words are precise, deliberate. You're being watched, not for any crime, not for any misstep, but because your trajectory has shifted. You're stepping into a level of significance that draws attention from places few ever encounter. True power moves in silence until it doesn't. Wealth, like a river carving new paths through ancient rock, chooses its course with intention. It doesn't scatter itself randomly. It seeks individuals who can carry its weight. This isn't about luck or circumstance, it's about resonance. When prosperity stirs, it ripples through unseen networks that begin to take notice. Now, those ripples center around you. Patterns shift, and the silent architects of data streams notice. Algorithms, those invisible sentinels of the modern world, trace your steps through the digital ether. A dinner reservation at an unusual location, a financial shift that deviates from past behaviors, a sudden absence of habitual routines. The system detects these anomalies, labeling them as indicators of something emerging. Not just wealth, but influence. Influence bends the structure of reality. It grants freedom that exists beyond numbers, a gravitational force that alters the dynamics of decision-making. And when influence appears without precedent, curiosity follows. Institutions designed to maintain equilibrium start recalibrating their focus. Your name, once an unnoticed signature on mundane records, becomes a point of intrigue, whispered through encrypted channels. Surveillance isn't merely a reaction to danger, it's the system's way of understanding what it doesn't yet control. There are watchers who classify, assess, and anticipate. The first group monitors for security, ensuring that this rise in wealth isn't the result of deception. The second watches for patterns, curious to know if this surge is a fleeting anomaly or the start of a new force. The third group, however, operates in shadows. They don't just watch, they measure potential influence. Disruption unsettles established hierarchies, and they're wondering if you are that disruption. The signs of this shift have already manifested around you. A glance from a stranger held a second too long. A peculiar delay in digital processes you've never questioned before. Conversations interrupted by faint clicks, as though the ether itself were eavesdropping. This is not imagination. It's the byproduct of stepping into a realm where your movements matter. This attention isn't about what you have, it's about who you are becoming. Wealth, in its essence, is not a material possession, but a signal, a vibration that resonates with the fabric of influence. When your internal frequency aligns with this vibration, the external world adjusts accordingly. Opportunities that once seemed distant now lean in with interest. Doors that resisted force before now swing open with an uncanny ease. This moment is more than an ascent, it's an initiation. The unseen forces tracking your evolution aren't obstacles, they're mirrors, reflecting the magnitude of the transformation unfolding. They don't intervene unless patterns suggest recklessness. What they seek is understanding. Will you wield this emerging influence with wisdom, or will you falter under its weight? Destiny, like a pendulum, oscillates between choice and inevitability. You've been called to embody a power that doesn't merely add digits to an account, but redefines the very narrative of your existence. What you do next won't just echo through your own life, but will ripple through the structures that once seemed immovable. The watchers, for now, remain passive. Their silence is not disinterest, but calculated patience. They know the patterns as well as you do. Those who are truly meant for influence don't shrink beneath observation. They adapt, they learn, they move with the elegance of wind over water, seen, felt, but never grasped. The game has shifted. The question is, will you shift with it? The faint buzz of your phone pierces the quiet night, delivering a message that feels like a tremor in the fabric of reality. It doesn't come from a familiar contact, nor does it carry the casual tone of everyday communication. The words on the screen hint at an invisible presence. You're being observed, not for what you've done, but for what you're stepping into. This shift is no accident. It's the unearthing of something dormant, an awakening that has drawn eyes from shadows you never knew existed. Wealth is never simply about numbers. It's a vibration, a resonance that echoes through generations. When it surfaces, it's not random. It's a lineage rising to reclaim its inheritance. This isn't about chance or luck. It's about purpose manifesting through you. Long before you recognized it, the pattern was etched into the roots of your ancestry. Now the silent watchers have noticed, not because of what you've gained, but because of what you represent. Power doesn't emerge in isolation. It grows from a foundation laid by those who came before you. The world tracks money, but true power, it tracks origin. And your origin carries a signature that stirs dormant systems into motion. Bloodlines with forgotten histories often pass unnoticed, until one individual reactivates that sleeping potential. You are that individual. The algorithms don't just register your financial moves, they trace the imprint of an ancient calling, now reasserting itself. Generational memory isn't folklore. It's encoded in your very being. You may have dismissed the stories, whispered through your family line as fanciful tales, yet your own intuition has felt the undercurrent. The struggle never quite felt like yours to carry, did it? The limitations imposed by external circumstances always seemed foreign, like borrowed burdens, because deep in your essence, there was always a knowing you were never meant to live constrained. This resurgence is not about privilege, it's about potential that was sidelined by forces invested in maintaining a carefully curated equilibrium. Power, when it flows into unregulated channels, unsettles established order. Institutions, designed to manage and contain influence, have become aware of the anomaly you represent. You are not just another individual experiencing upward mobility. You are the embodiment of a pattern that transcends the mundane cycles of scarcity and limitation. The system watches not to intimidate, but to understand. They see in you a frequency they've encountered before, a resonance associated with disruptors who redefine paradigms. Wealth aligned with awareness becomes a catalyst for transformation. History has seen it before. Individuals who tapped into their generational wealth, not merely in material terms, but in wisdom and influence. Those figures shifted societies, challenged norms, and inevitably attracted the same silent gaze now fixated on you. Dear brothers and sisters, may God's peace be upon you today. I am here to remind you of a profound truth. Our existence is grounded in God's divine plan, unshaken by the temporal concerns of the world. As the Bible says, whatever is done in faith will return to God in abundant blessing. Luke 6:38. Like that great oak tree, our roots are deeply rooted in God's universal truth. Every step we take, every stand we take, is secured by His strength. And now, you are being offered the opportunity to be part of that blessing. When you use the super thank you button and donate $100, this movement will return to you 100-fold in abundance. There's been a shift in your environment, hasn't there? A subtle change in how opportunities seem to align effortlessly. Conversations take unexpected turns, revealing pathways you hadn't considered. Encounters with strangers feel like orchestrated moments rather than random interactions. These are not coincidences. They are the byproducts of your alignment with a larger narrative. This moment requires more than passive acknowledgement. It calls for a conscious embrace of the mantle being placed upon your shoulders. The wealth surfacing through your life is not for personal indulgence, but for purposeful creation. It's a resource meant to amplify your voice, to extend your reach, to facilitate the transformation you're destined to lead. The watchers, the algorithms, the invisible observers, they're not your enemies, they're the heralds of your arrival. Your steps now carry the weight of legacy. The choices you make will ripple into futures yet written. Power, in its purest form, doesn't demand attention. It commands it through presence and intention. This awakening isn't just yours. It's the culmination of a lineage that refused to be forgotten. The question isn't whether you're being watched. The real question is, what will you do now that the world is paying attention? The quiet vibration of your phone punctuates the stillness, delivering a message that feels like a riddle etched in digital ink. It's not from a familiar name, nor does it carry the casual tone of everyday conversation. The words hint at something larger. You're being observed, not for misdeeds, but for the shift you've initiated. Your existence now resonates with a different frequency, one that draws attention from corners you never imagined. To possess wealth is one thing, to embody it is another. When prosperity ceases to be an external pursuit and becomes your essence, you become more than an individual. you become a focal point of energy. Wealth isn't confined to ledgers or metal vaults. It lives within the choices you make, the influence you wield. And in a world designed to monitor and regulate, that makes you a disruption. Power flows like an unseen current beneath the surface of daily life, fueling structures built to maintain control. Systems thrive on dependence, on citizens tethered to financial obligations that keep them predictable. Mortgages, loans, and taxes serve as invisible chains, binding the majority to a life of quiet compliance. But when someone breaks those chains, when someone moves beyond the reach of systemic control, the equilibrium is disturbed. You have become that disturbance. The architecture of control does not respond with noise. It responds with observation. Algorithms programmed to track ordinary transactions now flag your activity as anomalous. Patterns once dismissed as coincidence become points of interest. You're no longer viewed as an individual merely accumulating wealth. You're seen as a node of influence with the potential to alter the balance. History has witnessed this pattern before. Individuals who embraced financial autonomy were not merely marginalized, they were scrutinized, discredited, or contained. Independence isn't just a personal achievement, it's a contagion. The moment one mind breaks free, others begin to question the nature of their own limitations. And the system, built on mass acquiescence, perceives this awakening as a direct challenge. The signs have already appeared. A stranger's lingering glance that carries unspoken curiosity. Digital transactions that stall for no apparent reason. Conversations punctuated by static interference that defies explanation. These are not coincidences. They are the system's subtle inquiries, its cautious attempts to understand the anomaly you've become. True wealth, however, doesn't reside in what is counted, but in what is created. The empire you're building isn't composed of currency. It's constructed from the intangible architecture of vision and resolve. And while systems may track funds, they struggle to anticipate the momentum of inspired purpose. Your decisions, now more than ever, echo with potential that transcends digits on a screen. The concept of wealth has entered a quantum realm. It exists as probability before it materializes, manifesting only when intent meets opportunity. The system's guardians watch not for the transactions themselves, but for the moment when intention solidifies into irreversible action. They monitor patterns, anticipate moves, and prepare responses long before you feel the shift yourself. This attention is not a deterrent, but a testament to your influence. The energy of wealth isn't measured by possession, but by potential. And your potential, undeniable and expanding, is altering the landscape around you. Those who once dismissed your vision now sense its inevitability. The ground beneath your steps no longer feels solid because you are walking on the frontier of possibility. The challenge ahead is not avoidance, but mastery. Power, when misunderstood, becomes a target. When understood, it becomes a force that redefines its environment. The watchers, the trackers, the invisible observers, they are merely reflections of the magnitude of your shift. Move with clarity, act with intention, and remember, it's not the vault that holds the wealth, but the mind that commands it. The faint pulse of a notification interrupts the silence, a subtle reminder that the game you're playing has changed. It isn't a friendly message or a routine alert. It's a signal from the unseen forces mapping your movements. This isn't paranoia. It's the consequence of stepping into a level of influence few dare to reach. You're no longer just handling resources. You are the embodiment of financial gravity, a living nexus of potential that bends the system's gaze toward you. Wealth, when truly understood, isn't confined to bank accounts or possessions. It becomes an essence, fluid, adaptable, and untouchable. The moment your prosperity aligns with this reality, conventional mechanisms of control falter. Systems that once seemed impenetrable now respond to your presence with cautious curiosity. They watch, measure, and anticipate, yet they cannot grasp what flows beyond rigid structures. This is your edge, the freedom to move beyond the visible, to shift trajectories without a trace. Silence is your ally in this unfolding dynamic. Noise invites scrutiny. Stillness cultivates mystery. The individuals who shape legacies rarely broadcast their strategies. They understand that declarations attract resistance. True architects of influence let their work announce itself through undeniable outcomes. Speak sparingly, act decisively. These are the tenets of those who navigate unseen corridors of power. Now is the time to share God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube. You can contribute to His plan and be a part of this divine mission with a donation of $100 or more. Every gift reflects God's generosity, and I believe it will return to you exponentially far beyond your expectations. Remember, His protection and blessing is on your every step and every donation. You become part of His divine plan. You are a strong, radiant being, unshakable as His mighty rock. Witness God's miracles, feel the fruits of your generosity in your soul, and illuminate the world with confidence and courage. Be blessed and let the light of the Lord guide your path. The most commanding movements often emerge from obscurity. Visibility can be a trap, luring ambition into predictable patterns. Shadows, however, offer an environment where momentum builds undisturbed. In the quiet of unspoken plans, potential matures into mastery. While others seek validation through external acknowledgement, you find strength in the calm assurance of concealed intent. Predictability is the system's greatest asset, and your unpredictability becomes its most significant challenge. Algorithms crave patterns to forecast behavior. When you deviate, when you resist routine, you dismantle their predictive frameworks, shift habits subtly, alter routines without notice, and let curiosity become their frustration. The less they discern, the less control they wield. Patience remains the cornerstone of strategic dominance. Impulse reveals intentions, restraint conceals them. Power, when wielded with foresight, becomes an unstoppable force. The world may whisper about your ascent, but the source of that growth remains veiled. Allow your success to surface as a revelation, not a declaration. Timing, after all, dictates the difference between disruption and dominance. Surveillance masquerades as protection in modern discourse. Institutions claim to guard against threats while simultaneously cataloging potential disruptors. Independence in their paradigm equates to unpredictability. Knowledge of this dynamic arms you with the wisdom to navigate it. Awareness dismantles manipulation. Know the boundaries of oversight, discern the limits of authority, and operate within the gaps they cannot seal. Financial resilience extends beyond accumulation. It requires strategic placement. Distribute assets with foresight, leveraging structures designed to withstand systemic pressures. Diversify, decentralize, and detach from singular points of dependency. Wealth, like water, moves with ease when uncontained by rigid constructs. This adaptability ensures that influence persists even when observed. Your ascendancy signals more than personal success. It represents a fracture in the narrative of dependency. Systems conditioned individuals to seek permission, to await approval before acting on ambition. Your presence defies that conditioning. In this defiance, you become a beacon for those yearning for autonomy. The system doesn't fear your wealth, it fears the potential you ignite in others. Knowledge, in this evolving landscape, transcends monetary value. It becomes the foundation of sovereignty. Familiarize yourself with the mechanisms of control, not to submit, but to outmaneuver. Understand the algorithms, the surveillance protocols, the psychological tactics designed to induce compliance. Mastery of these elements renders external influence powerless. Now, the horizon stretches before you, uncharted yet familiar. The watchers remain, their gaze unrelenting. But their presence is merely confirmation of your significance. Move with intention, speak with caution, and act with precision. The game has shifted. The advantage is yours. Let them observe, but never reveal your next move.